About a year ago, I decided to start building an audience on Twitter, and honestly, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made for my business. Now, I've only got around 5,000 followers, but with that, I've built a digital product business that brings in over $10,000 every single month. And even with other marketing channels, Twitter to this day is still my biggest traffic source. But I can't lie, building an audience on Twitter has been far from easy. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I got my first few thousand followers so that you can take what's worked and start building an audience for yourself. And just to preface, I'm not a Twitter growth expert. There are probably a million ways out there to grow on Twitter, but this is what's worked for me. So take from it what you will. But before we dive any deeper, let's first talk about what's even the point of building an audience. As business owners, we already have a million things to do, so why add the pressure of building an audience on top of all of that? Well, here's how I see it. We live in an attention economy. Attention is arguably one of the most valuable assets that you can have, period. Because the more eyes you have on you, the more you grow as a brand or business, plain and simple. But here's the thing. Everyone is fighting for that attention these days. There are so many businesses, brands, and creators out there. Standing out isn't easy. But if you can build an audience, capture attention, and keep it, then you've already won half the battles of building a successful online business. It sets you apart and makes people come to you instead of you always having to chase them. And that is super powerful when it comes to building a long-term, sustainable business. But let's talk about a question I get all the time. Should you build a personal brand or a business brand? Now, this is a tricky one because both options have their strengths, but I see people get hung up on this for way too long. So let me give you my thoughts on it and then you can make a decision for yourself. A business brand for me gives off more of a professional vibe and the impression of a bigger, more established company. And it can be great if you want to create something that can run independently from you. On the other hand, a personal brand means putting yourself out there. It's you, your name, your story, and that can feel quite intimidating for a lot of people because it's more personal and that can feel like a lot of pressure. For me, I chose a personal brand because I run my business solo and I intend to moving forward, so honestly it just felt a bit more authentic rather than trying to pretend to be this huge company. And on top of that, I believe that people connect with people, and it's often easier to build trust when there's a real person behind the brand. As humans, we're wired to trust other humans more than just a logo. Plus, a personal brand gives you the flexibility to pivot, grow, and evolve as you do. So yeah, there are pros and cons to both, but if you're running a one-person show, I think a personal brand can really give you that edge to help connect with the audience in a real human way. But then the next question is, why did I choose to build my personal brand on Twitter instead of places like Instagram or TikTok? Now, don't get me wrong, Instagram, TikTok, and all those other platforms are great in their own ways. But from my experience, when you're starting out, trying to be everywhere is a shortcut to being nowhere. Every platform has its nuances, so trying to create content for each platform is how you get burnt out and start hating the process real quick. So the key for me was to start with one platform to begin with. Focusing on one platform lets you stay consistent, learn what works, but also enjoy the process rather than constantly feeling overwhelmed. So for me, that one platform was obviously Twitter, and there's a couple reasons why. Firstly, on Twitter, I saw a lot of other web designers and creatives like me already sharing content, so I knew that that's where my target audience was already hanging out. Secondly, Twitter emphasizes both writing and visuals, which was perfect for me. I could easily share my thoughts and insights, but also showcase my work quickly and easily. And the best part is Twitter has a really low barrier to entry, which means that I could quickly put ideas out there and test if they resonate without spending hours on a piece of content. It felt less like a performance and more like real conversations, which made building my brand feel way more natural. So yeah, while other platforms do have their place, starting on Twitter allowed me to build a real strong foundation, and then once I did that, it was much easier to branch out to other platforms without spreading myself too thin. Moving on to Twitter itself, the first thing that needs to be on point is your profile. Your profile is someone's first impression of you, but I see too many people overthink this part of trying to make it perfect, or worse, filling it with absolute crap that doesn't mean anything. The key is to keep it simple, clear, and professional. You want people to immediately be able to understand who you are, what you do, and why they should follow you. So, start with a clean, high-quality profile picture, one that represents you but also feels approachable. Next, write a bio that gets straight to the point. Instead of trying to sound overly professional and trying to cram in everything you've ever done, focus on clarity. Mention what you do, who you help, and what people can expect if they follow you. Then you want to get yourself a clean, visually appealing cover image that reinforces your brand. And then finally, add any links to your profile if you have them. Oh, and something else a lot of people ask me is whether or not they should get Twitter Premium. Now, from my experience, I've run a few tests with and without Premium. And with Premium, I've noticed that my posts get a lot more reach. And on top of that, the blue badge does give an extra layer of credibility. So if you can afford it, it definitely won't hurt. Okay, so once the profile is out of the way, the next thing is content. Now, a lot of people feel pressure to come up with viral tweets right from the start, but in the beginning it's way more important to focus on consistency than trying to go viral. The way that I thought of that initial phase was kind of like an experimentation period where I was more so trying to find my voice and see what resonates with people. And to be honest, starting from scratch actually gave me a sense of freedom. I could try things without really overthinking because barely anyone was watching yet. This was my time to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. So here's what I did. I made it a habit to post once a day, every day. Even if it was something small, I kept myself showing up daily. At this stage, I wasn't worried about creating anything overly polished or viral. I just shared my thoughts, what I was working on and what I was learning. And I made sure to stay within the topics that I wanted to be known for, which in my case was web design and online business. I also played around with single tweets and threads. When I had more to say, I'd go for a thread, which tended to get more engagement, but for day-to-day, single tweets were fine. And something very important was that I made sure to not come across as some kind of guru. I approached it like I was just sharing my journey and showing a behind-the-scenes look at what I was learning and doing in the hopes that others could extract some value. This helped me come across as not only relatable, but also showed people that I was actually putting in the work. So if you're just starting out, my advice to you would be to focus on consistent, authentic content and simply post about what you're doing on a daily basis in your area of expertise. Focus on building that foundation and then you're ready to add that last piece of the puzzle, and that is engagement. Now, when I was starting out, just posting content alone didn't really do much. But like I mentioned, the idea of posting content in the beginning was more so about me building a foundation, finding my voice and creating a habit more than anything else. But where my profile really started to grow was through engagement. Engagement is the single most important factor when you're starting out, in my opinion. The entire Twitter business model outside of premium is all about keeping people on the platform for as long as possible so that they can serve them as many ads as possible. So when people engage and spend time with you, Twitter notices and that leads to more reach for your profile. At the start, my goal wasn't to find clients or customers. My sole focus was building an engaged network of people who were genuinely interested in what I was sharing. Now, a lot of people say that you should comment on bigger accounts in the hopes of getting noticed, and that's fine, but I took a slightly different approach to engagement. Instead, my focus was to build a real network by sending direct messages to people in my area of expertise with less than 1,000 followers and building genuine connections with them. The reason why I would only message people with less than 1,000 followers was simply because they're more likely to reply to me than bigger accounts. I set a simple goal of sending 20 DMs a day. I'd reach out with a genuine message, not trying to sell anything, and just connect and start a conversation. In the mornings when I'd wake up, I'd send 10 messages, which would take around 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'd send another 10 messages in the evening. So in total, I was only spending 15-20 minutes out of my day, but as a result, I hit 1,000 followers in just a couple months. Let me show you an example of what I used to do. One of my areas of expertise is Framer. So what I would do is go to search, then I'd type Framer, then go to people, and literally work my way through this entire list of people and connect with anyone who has less than 1,000 followers. And the message I would send would look something like this. Just a genuine message trying to connect and build a relationship. Now, yes, this is more of a hands-on approach, but by taking this initial time to build genuine connections through DMs, I started seeing natural engagement on my posts. The people I connected with were liking, sharing, and commenting on my posts, which led to a steady increase in my reach. And that's where the magic happens. As my profile started to grow, I started to attract clients and customers to me without even having to sell because my profile was getting pushed out there. I was doing this DM strategy until around 1,000 followers. After that, my profile started to gain traction on its own and I didn't really need to do as much outreach. I still engage with people naturally, of course, but it's no longer a daily task. So if you're starting out, my advice to you would be to set a DM goal that works for you, whether it's 5, 10, or 20 messages per day. Then focus on reaching out to small accounts in your area of expertise and build genuine connections. And with consistency, you'll start to see your profile grow as mine has. But building an audience is only really one piece of the puzzle. The next piece is channeling your audience into your offers, whether that be a service, software, or a digital product that you're trying to sell. And speaking of which, if selling digital products and building a business that gives you true freedom is something of interest to you, then you might want to check out this video. I'll see you in the next one.